I wrote about Blue Origin.
Yeah.
It's one of the companies that you're involved with.
Yes.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Great.
The Blue Origin.
Be fun.
So before I did this story, you told me you wanted me to watch something, like an old TV show. Can we get the slide?
I gave him homework.
Yes, I had some homework. Will you see this? It was tell me about this. Why did you ask me to watch this TV show?
This is an incredible short video that I would recommend all of you go, find on the internet and watch. This was recently rediscovered. It is a guy named Jerry O'Neill. Is Isaac Asimov, the famous science fiction author, and this. For me, Jerry was very formative in my high school years. I read his book called The High Frontier, and it resonated with me. It made a lot of sense to me. And he was the first person to ask this very fundamental question. The interviewer asks Isaac Asimov why he thinks it is that nobody had come up with this idea before. Because there had been lots of ideas in science fiction stories about settling other planets, but never these giant space colonies. By the way, don't think International Space Station. These space colonies would hold 1 million+ people. They're very large. They have rivers and farmland and so on. And Isaac Asimov answers. He says, yeah, I think I know why nobody has thought of this before. It's because we're planetary chauvinists. And I believe we are. It makes sense. We kind of grew up on one.
So this has been something that you've been, I think it's fair to say, obsessed with since high school. Can we see a picture? At one point you went to space camp.
Yeah.
And can you find Jeff in here? Let's watch the circle here.
Look for hair.
There he is.
and that's my physics teacher, Deanna Rule, just beneath me and a little to the right.
So, your physics. Your physics teacher who accompanied you gave me that.
This was not really a space camp. This was the Space Shuttle Student Involvement Project. And we created experiments. I was a finalist in that competition. It was a nationwide competition. This is at Marshall Space Flight Center. I wanted to send common household flies into space and see what effect it had on their little tiny fly muscles. But anyway, I was a finalist, but not a...
Of humanity than the Earth could possibly sustain will be in outer space. That's your mission, isn't it?
That's the mission. I won't be alive to see the fulfillment of that long-term mission. What we have to do is we have to decide, are we willing to live in a world of stasis, or do we want to continue energy that we use per capita, continue to increase the population of humanity? And I like the non-stasis view of the future. I think it's way better for our grandchildren's grandchildren if they can continue to use more energy than we do. If you take current baseline energy usage on Earth and compound it at just a few percent a year for just a few hundred years, you have to cover the entire surface of the Earth and solar cells, such as the power of compounding. Now, of course, that won't happen. Other things will happen, and we are starting to bump up against the absolute true fact that Earth is finite. And the Earth is so small. If you look at the output from the sun and think about what a tiny fraction of the solar energy that the Earth intercepts, it's a tiny little piece. And so what's going to happen over the long term, we'll have 1 trillion humans in the solar system, and then you'll have 1,000 Einsteins and 1,000 Mozarts. It'll be a much better civilization for Blue's role in this, Blue Origin, what we need to do is lower the cost of access to space. So what the analogy I use is the dynamism that I have seen over the last 20 years. Incredible things have happened in really short periods of time. Amazon was a garage startup. Now it's a very large company. 2 kids in a dorm room built Facebook, in less than 2 decades. It's a $500 billion market cap company. 2 kids in a dorm room cannot build an important space company today. The price of admission is too high. So what Blue Origin is working on doing is lowering the price of admissions so that the next generation, there can be some, Mark Zuckerbergs of space, where some kid in their dorm room comes up with a brilliant idea and actually does that. Because that's the only way we get to the future that I'm talking about, is we need thousands of companies. We need the same dynamism in space that we've seen online over the last 20 years. And we can do that. We need reusable space vehicles.
So you're spending about $1 billion of your money every year.
Yes.
Well,
I always say yes.
Yeah.
I'm like the worst.
You're doing pretty well at Amazon, very well. I think you're the richest guy on the planet, this planet. And some people say, well, maybe it shouldn't be the richest people to take their visions, even some homelessness a problem there. But still, address that bigger issue of should it be individuals who are lucky enough and have worked hard and can come up with innovative ideas like you to be able to take on the giant problems of humanity and decide, hey, space rather than poverty.
We want both. And so what you want is you want individuals to be able to pursue things that they think are important, and you want government. Governments to pursue things that are important because they optimize for different things. Governments they tend to have to be quite conservative. Mm-hmm. They aren't, when you're playing with taxpayer money, governments have to optimize. They're often optimizing for not being embarrassed. Is tiny compared to the resources of the U.S. federal government. Tiny. Mm-hmm. I was talking to Mike Bloomberg. Not too long ago, and he said that some hedge fund guys came to him and said, good news, we're going to fix the New York public school system for you. We've come together and we've raised $1 billion. Mm-hmm. And he said, do you know what the annual budget of the New York City school public system is? He said, it's $22 billion a year. Mm-hmm. That's just New York City. So some of these things people don't have, sometimes they don't have the scale of things right. The federal government is gigantic, society and civilization. There are lots of ways to do that. I'm very proud of the work that the Washington Post is doing. I think they're contributing to society. I'm very proud of the work that Amazon is doing in empowering people with AWS and a bunch of other tools and retail saving people time and money. That is contributing to society. Blue Origin is the most important thing I'm working on, but I won't live to see it all rolled out. But you want people to be doing things. You want risk-taking. You want people to have vision that most people don't agree with. If you contribute to society, but in a unique way, all of the real needle movers are driven by being right when most of the world is wrong.
Now, part of my research here, I went to Texas, to West Texas.
Yeah, that was a fun trip.
It was a fun trip, and and I watched a rocket launch to talk about what Blue Origin is doing. Can we cue up the first video? This is the launch that I was able to witness. Why don't you tell us a little bit what's going on here when we get this rolling?
Okay, this is the most recent flight of Blue Origin. This is a very important test because the